Today we're going to make a wall-mounted leather box. This video is brought to you by Squarespace, helping you make websites quickly and easily. I decided to use this project as an opportunity to experiment with molding or embossing leather. I used my hot glue gun to glue a plastic toy gun to a piece of plywood. I submerged some leather that I got from Tandy Leather into water for about 15 to 20 minutes. I then wrapped it around the piece of plywood with the gun glued onto it and then put it into a vacuum sealed bag. I pumped the air out of the bag and the leather started to form around the shape of the toy gun. While the leather was forming, I started on the frame for the box. The frame is made out of 1/4 inch plywood, 1/2 inch plywood, some scrap 2x4, and two really nice pieces of a hardwood called catalogs. All of the wood, with the exception of the two pieces of catalogs, are going to be covered up by the leather, so I wasn't too careful about how I assembled them. I wanted a way to easily mount and demount this box on the wall, so I drilled some holes and then cut a rectangle out of the back side of it with my jigsaw. I glued the pieces of catalogs onto either side of the box. I used my orbital sander to round over the edges. I drilled a hole in the front piece of plywood that was just the right diameter that I could insert a magnet into. This magnet is going to serve as part of the latch for opening and closing the leather flap. I finished the pieces of catalogs with a coat of Danish oil. At this point, the leather had been sitting in the vacuum bag for about 2 days, so I opened up the bag and unwrapped it from the plywood, and the leather had totally taken the shape of the plastic toy gun. I used some spray foam that I got from Home Depot to fill in the back side of the molded leather. Once the foam had dried, I used my Japanese saw to cut it level with the edge of the leather. I used leather glue to glue the leather to the wood box. I did this in different stages so that I could really pull the leather as tight as possible around the box. I'm still getting used to working with leather, and there's definitely a few wrinkles that I didn't really want in there, but overall I'm pretty happy with how it came out. While the leather glue is drying, I mixed up some Quikrete 5000 and poured them into Bobafet ice cube molds. I put in a little bit of concrete, got out the bubbles, before filling up the molds the rest of the way with concrete. I used an orbital sander without a sanding pad to vibrate the bubbles out of the wet concrete. I stuck a magnet into the back of the wet concrete. Once the concrete had cured for 48 hours, I popped them right out. There were 3 slots in the mold, so I put a bolt in one of them to use as a cabinet pull in the future. The leather glue was now dry, so I just used a knife to trim around the edges of the box. I cut the leather away from the rectangular hole on the back of the box. I mixed up some 2-part epoxy to glue the concrete Bobafet head to the front leather flap. I made the mounting bracket for the box out of a few pieces of 1/8 inch thick and 1/4 inch thick plywood. So all I had to do was screw this bracket to the wall and then place the box right over the bracket. I use this box as a place to store all of my business related receipts before I send them off to my accountant. This project was sponsored by Squarespace. Squarespace is an all-in-one platform that lets you easily buy domains and build beautiful websites. Start your free trial today at squarespace.com/homemademodern and enter the offer code HOMEMADE to get 10% off your first purchase. For more detailed instructions and links to the products that I use, check out my website. And if you want to see what I'm working on next, be sure to follow me on Instagram. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Thanks. Bye.